So, welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning into IA News. On today's agenda, we have US sports betting, and we're going to talk about this today with our guest, Brandon Walker, who's leading the global business development at Amelco. So, Brandon, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I was very looking forward to discuss this. As we know, it's a very trendy topic these days, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the US is seems to be at the forefront of almost every gaming discussion or conversation. So yeah, extremely exciting times.
Exactly. So let's jump into it. And the last few months have been pretty big for US sport, right? I mean, with the Super Bowl in the football and March Madness in a basketball. So what have you seen in terms of betting and fan interaction?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a massive uplift in gaming in general. I suppose more states have now regulated and legalized. So you're definitely seeing a lot more uplift across the board. Like you said, Super Bowl was massive. There was a record number of bets and number of stakes. So I mean, it was inevitable. Obviously, every year will probably increase, and it's going to only grow year on year. But I mean, yeah, and then of course, like you said, March Madness with the basketball. So I mean, US sports are extremely popular. The fan interaction is massive. There's sports on almost every day in the US. It's not necessarily like Europe where we all gear up and we get very excited for a Saturday afternoon where you've got all the football and or soccer per se. The US almost have a day that big on a daily basis. So of course, fan interaction is huge. Obviously, they have college sports in the US, which are massive as well. In a lot of states, almost have a larger following than the NFL or some of the big leagues. And then there's also so many markets for sports bettors to be betting on with US sports. So we've seen a massive uplift in player prop markets, which is a large sort of player or a sports betting interaction uplift, which we don't necessarily see in Europe or other regions. And yeah, I suppose it's just been an interesting one to observe the last few months.
I guess pretty beneficial for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to grow our presence in the US at the moment, and seeing our customers grow on a month on month is very sort of it's great to see, as you would imagine, and of course it's great for everyone involved.
And as you know, in the US, your clients already includes the big names like a Foxbet, WinBet, Sportsradar. So what is your growth strategy for the US? I mean, it's becoming really competitive. So how are you managing? How are you differentiating your offering, or are you concentrating on anything specific?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I mean, Amelco, I'd say we probably got one of the most dynamic ways of working with operators and partners in the US. We're not fixed on one way or working in one way. So even like you just said, some of the names you just mentioned, we have a very close knit partnership with Sportradar and a number of other feed providers too. But then just to name a few, we've got Action 247 in Tennessee, who are a Sportradar MTS client of ours. So we're very much closely partner with Sportradar on that particular deal, with MTS handling the risk management and Amelco handling the platform and everything else. You mentioned WinBet in Michigan, where that's a partnership with GAN. So that is obviously Win being the operator, Amelco being the full sportsbook provider, but GAN providing the player account management component. Obviously, with regard to Foxbet, they've now taken over a large, or if not all, of the code and the way that they handled that. So Amelco were a lot more involved in that in previous years, whereas now Foxbet have sort of they run with that on their own. And then we have a number of other ones which we're looking to launch. So we got two we're looking to launch in New Jersey. One of the big names of that being Fubo TV. So just recently, so Fubo TV, obviously the sports streaming group, and they just recently acquired Bet Victory, who are a client of ours. So they've now come together, and they're looking to launch in multiple states. New Jersey being the key one, and then a number of others behind that. So yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. Amelco are very sort of dynamic in how we work. We're not a one-stop shop, and you have to sort of take our full white label offering. If not even white label, we can offer a very bespoke offering too. So I think, yeah, we very much cater to tier one operators, as well as smaller operators. Whether they're looking to start up in a state or already an established bookmaker.
Exactly. And we definitely cannot miss to discuss a bit New York State's recent events. So New York State looks set to legalize sports betting, but it's taking a quite different approach to other states, right? I mean, it looks like there will be few platform providers, right, selected, each offering several skins. So what's your thoughts on this approach, and what potential do you see for the industry in the state?
I mean, yeah, obviously New York is massive. Everyone's waiting for the big states to make these sort of announcements. And I guess, yeah, the time has come. I think they've probably seen enough with regard to the other states, especially their neighboring states. That being New Jersey specifically. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, from our side, we can only just sort of keep our sort of ears to the ground and sort of know what's going on within the states, regulations, operators, what's happening, who's moving, who's getting licensed, what's happening with licenses. So yeah, very exciting, and yeah, very very keen to see what happens and what unfolds in the next sort of 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the approach, which, is aimed to be more beneficial for the state coffers than the local casinos, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've seen that. I mean, they've obviously announced that, it's definitely the aim of, or at least that's what's being said, is the aim is to sort of, increase the amount of revenue for the states and putting that towards some good causes. So we'll see. We'll only see what happens.
Yeah. Let's hope Cuomo's is not gonna. Well, it will pass for sure. There's a time, but let's see. You never know what can change. It's very fast pacing industry, right?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, New York has been one of the sort of heavier states hit with COVID, so they obviously need the funding. So let's hope it gets put to some good causes. But yeah, exciting, very exciting. Good to see one of the big states finally sort of moving in that direction. And it'll be interesting to see who sort of goes or who follows suit behind them.
Exactly. But when it comes to online casino in the US, Melco is integrating major brands like Netan, Evolution, PowerPlay. So do you anticipate differences in the US markets and compared to very major online slots markets here in Europe, like for example UK market? Are there any differences? Are you noticing it already?
I think yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I think you're obviously seeing some of the states opening up for purely just sports. Some are now opening up for sports and casino. That obviously being New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, West Virginia. So when it comes to sort of player behavior in terms of slots and what's being, I mean, from my perspective, we're still sort of trying to figure that out and trying to work with our partners, work with the likes of NetSense and PariPlay and of course, yeah, we're also looking to integrate Evolution directly, as well as a sort of a number of other ones. So I suppose from our side, we've been very much focused on sports betting and making sure we get our sports betting platform and our offering sort of finely tuned for the US market. And we tend to leave the casino side of things to the professionals. We're not a casino games provider, but we're happily integrate with all the sort of the top suppliers, and we want to offer best of breed product to our clients. So yeah, to answer your question, we're still trying to figure that out and just try and see what games are best, what games are working best, etc. And yeah, we like to take the lead from the casino suppliers.
Exactly. It will be very interesting to see because, the sports betting is one thing, but the online casinos, and the games industry is something else. And it will be interesting to see how, the players, you as players, the behavior will differ, right? But another fascinating market is Africa, right? And I have to say, the Amelco has one of the best products over there for sure. And you also work with operators as Baba Jebu, which is Nigeria's oldest operator, right? So, but we often heard again that despite presenting enormous opportunity, African market also presents really unique challenges, So what Amelco's experience been so far, and where do you see African online gambling market going, over the next few years?
Yeah, so I mean, Africa's an interesting one. Again, lots of opportunity in Africa. Very much sort of a booming market in my opinion. It's growing year on year. As countries and markets mature, you're seeing a lot more uplift and a lot more player engagement. People are becoming more educated on sports betting. So I mean, yeah, one of the key things with Africa is payments. As you can imagine, not being up to speed with payments. It's not the same as in Europe, where we can quite easily just log on and deposit via a credit card or a debit card. So there's multiple different ways or channels and avenues that players can fund accounts. And yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things to overcome as an operator. We worked with a number of different PSPs in Africa. We've worked with a number of different telecoms companies, obviously MTN being one of the largest in Africa, Airtel being another large one. So we've integrated them directly into our platform to allow players to obviously fund their accounts or place bets through that. There's obviously mobile money wallets, which are also extremely important and very well used or largely used across Africa. And as you can imagine, every African country is very unique, or has its own unique twist. So it's not exactly a sort of a one-stop blanket or fits all that you can sort of allow each operator in each African country to have the same payments. They're all very unique. So it's one of those, you have to know how to work around those obstacles and get those working, and obviously work with your operators too. We're looking to enter the South African market this year too. So again, very exciting country to sports betting is really on the up there, and they're also slowly starting to regulate and allow some sort of live dealer games and some virtual games and things that obviously have not been allowed in the past. So looking forward to seeing what happens in South Africa, and I think Africa in general is really going to have a large uplift in the few years.
Yeah, definitely challenging one, but with a lot of potential. But what about the Asian one? I remember that also, in Asia you have a quite big presence, right?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously working with all regulated bookmakers or operators, we worked with the Hong Kong Jockey Club. So Hong Kong Jockey Club are the only legal sportsbook in Hong Kong, the only sportsbook in Hong Kong. And yeah, so we actually worked with them we still support them. And I actually spent 2 years in Hong Kong managing that project myself. So it was a unique project. We built a very bespoke platform. It was far from an out-the-box solution. So we built a bespoke platform, which was we integrated 10 data feeds into their system purely for soccer, and we built a whole data aggregation piece around that. So we drove a lot of their trading components opposed to the front-end sportsbook. But again, very very interesting project to be a part of, and yeah, it just shows the level of tier one operators that we do work with globally.
Exactly. And to maybe to compare, because we were talking about different markets. So what are, like, key differences between the European and African, or African and Asian operator needs, actually, that Amelco has identified, not really from the player point of view, but
Yeah.
from the operator point of view.
So every region has its own way of working. And like I said, so Europe's got a way of sports betting. It's very mature. People know what they're doing. Africa, again, has its own very specific way of operating. So I mean, in Africa, you have a large sort of retail kiosk based sports betting behavior, especially in Nigeria. Nigeria is big on the agency model. So you essentially got agents who are out on the streets, and they're taking bets from people, whether that be on the side of the roads, or in kiosks, or in sort of in retail shops. Virtuals are a big thing in Africa, especially in Nigeria. LATAM is very similar to that model as well, where you have a sort of an agency model, a retail model. And then, of course, you got Europe, which is very much sort of online, as you and I would know if we were betting ourselves. And then, of course, you got different sort of markets that are being bet on in Asia. So you got the Asian handicaps, you got different prices that are sort of coming out, and it's just different ways, different betting behaviors globally.
I guess.
In Africa.
Yeah, no, I just want to say that, like, I guess just for all operators, the same problem they all have are payment methods.
Absolutely. I mean, payment methods globally, again, you have different options, different ways of doing payments. As you know, in Africa, it's very sort of accumulator bet heavy, or in the US, it's more better known as parlays. So, where they're sort of stacking a lot of bets on top of each other. It's a small stake, and they're trying to obviously push for a large winnings. Lottery style betting is obviously big in Africa. And then, of course, you got the US, which is just specifically US sports. The US as well is quite big on the land-based retail side of things, and that's something that we have as well. I didn't necessarily mention it earlier, but we're live in Colorado and in Michigan Michigan with WinBet, and that's our retail and our teller betting sort of terminals. So when it comes to the US, we've covered sort of all bases in terms of what's required. But I think there's each country or each region has its own twist, and we've gone through that, over the last sort of 10 years, building different products for different regions.
Definitely. And to wrap up this interview very nicely, I would just, the last to say is, what's the future hold for Amelco? So what are your plans for next 12 months, specifically for expansion, point of view, because you're responsible for that?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking, I suppose, the next 6-12 months, definitely looking to expand our footprint in the US. We've, like I said, we've been working on that for the last 12-18 months. A lot of emphasis on that. Investing a lot there, getting licenses in multiple sort of states, investing in the product, ensuring that it's sort of top drawer. And like I said earlier, we're providing the best of breed to all of our clients. And then again, like you touched on, Africa, we're moving into South Africa, so really looking to expand our presence in Africa too. And again, LATAM is something we haven't necessarily touched on too much on this sort of today, but I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity in LATAM too. Brazil are in talks of sort of regulating. I know they've been talking about it for a while, but I think this year, potentially early next year, something will happen there. And I think we're ready for the LATAM market too. Whether that be Peru, Chile. It's very similar to what we've built in Africa, and we're looking to cross that over to there too.
Gorgeous. I mean, we're gonna definitely follow you in your developments, and I'm hoping that maybe in 12 months we can do another interview, and you can tell me another hot news from the LATAM and the US. I'm quite sure that there's gonna be a lot of new stuff. So Brandon, thank you so much for being here today and taking time. And we actually chat, about a lot of markets, a lot of countries. We cover the globe. That's for
Yeah,
sure. And I'm quite sure that viewers will find it interesting. So thank you so much, Brandon.
absolutely. No, thanks very much for having me. And yeah,
Yeah.
have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Yeah.